1460 WVOX.
Stay tuned now for the Racing for Heroes radio show with host Brett Morash on 1460 WVOX.
All right, good morning, Racing for Heroes fans. Today is November 13th, 2020. We're here on 1460 AM in the New York area, WVOX and WVOX.com. And today we have two amazing guests. One of them, our first one's a Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack Tilley, who'll be on in a moment. And our second is our founder, Chief Warrant Officer, retired, Mike Evok, U.S. Army Special Forces. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on our first guest, Sergeant Major Tilley. So Sergeant Major Tilley, are you on the line, sir?
I am. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. How are you hearing me?
I hear you loud and clear. I'm standing by here.
Yeah, it's better than those old Saper radios and the other green gear they used to give us back in the field.
I've had a lot of old stuff because I'm an old guy, so that's for damn sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. And listen, Sergeant Major, I want to start by saying that I had a chance to be stationed at JTF HOA, which is a joint command out in East Africa, and I always was impressed with the Army Sergeant Majors, mostly because they truly led from the front and were always trying to be inspirational. And I wasn't sure what it was, but it was always sort of like that age and treachery always beats youth and beauty, because they were always the guy at the front of the running line. So maybe you could tell us a little bit more about being a Sergeant Major.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you what, I was a Sergeant Major for about 16 years.
Oh, wow.
Battalion, brigade, divisions, Corps, and then of course CENTCOM for about 3.5 years, and then Sergeant Major Army for about 3.5 years.
Oh wow, that's amazing. And who was Chief of Staff of the Army when you were in the saddle?
General Shinseki, probably one of the best guys I've ever worked with in my entire life. You know, he's an amputee. He lost part of his right foot in Vietnam.
Oh wow.
So most people wouldn't even know that until he gets a little tired, then he'll start limping. But he is. I'd only met him once before I got hired for the job. I met him in Europe, and we was at a conference, and we went through a demonstration. And every time I'd go somewhere, when I was standing there, what impressed me about him, he was always very supportive about the non-commissioned officers. You know, he'd always ask me first if I had any questions about anything. So he's just a wonderful guy, wonderful family, that's for sure.
No, and listen, I mean, he's a storied guy. I mean, in the military, I mean, I think everyone remembers General Shinseki, fondly. I mean, I certainly do, and I was a Navy guy, so no, that's amazing.
Yeah, he was in fact, I used to, when I got out of the service, I'd call him about, maybe once a month or something, like we'd chit chat, and then when he got to be the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, I called him one time and said, "Hey, look, I know you'll be busy. I'll talk to you when you finish." So, he's just a great guy. Again, I can't say enough good things about him.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. No, and listen, I think that's important, right? And I think that's one of the reasons, why you've been, as you transitioned out of the military, you started your own company. I know you do some consulting, but you also got involved with an organization that I think is particularly exciting, Step Up America. Can you tell us a little bit about what they do and why you're there?
Yeah, Step Up America. It's a wonderful organization. They really go into schools and educate kids about our history of our country, and they do it in such a neat way. They have an avatar, Ben Franklin. They have an avatar, and they do it through Zoom. So when Ben Franklin is on the screen, they can see the kids, and they actually have a dialogue with the kids. I think they trained, maybe 10 or 15,000 kids so far.
Oh, yeah.
It's from grades 1 to 12. I mean, it's a wonderful program. So if you get a chance, people are listening. Google Step Up America and take a look at that, and maybe if you want them, they'll come to your school, or it's pretty easy to do it too. Yeah,
because Sergeant Major Tilley, my wife's a first grade teacher, and I own a preparatory school here in New Rochelle, and she's actually having them on the week after Thanksgiving. So I know her kids are excited about it.
Oh, they'll love it. When I first got involved with the process, I wanted to go and see exactly what they did. And so I went to Lakeland, Florida. Me and Sergeant Major Myers, Johnny Myers. I went up to Lakeland, Florida, and we sit down in this class, and we got in there, and the kids weren't moving at all.
Oh, sure.
And about 10 minutes after we're there, they said, "Okay, that's it." And I said, oh, wow, this must have been a really short class. And I asked John, I said, John, how long have you had these kids in this class? He says, 40 minutes.
Oh, gosh.
Can you, I've never seen kids at 7 or 8 years old stay glued for 40 minutes and not move around or wiggle, but they were just focused on our history. And I thought it was just neat as heck.
Well, I think it's amazing. And I grew up in Franklin, Massachusetts. And so like I have like a personal affinity for Ben Franklin. And I don't know if you were there when I was down in Virginia and I was talking to Ben on the thing, but one of the funny kind of stories about Ben Franklin in my hometown is they actually changed the name of the town from like Essex to Franklin, and then sent him a note saying, hey, we changed our name, would you donate us a bell for the clock tower? And he sent them a bunch of books instead. So the town fathers were all upset, but we did get to have the first public library in the nation, and those books are still available to take out by researchers.
Oh my goodness! Oh, that's neat as heck. Hey, when I was getting ready to talk to you, you said go Navy. You didn't say go Navy, beat Army, did you?
I did not say beat Army. I did not. I just said go Navy. You can fill in the rest of the blank, Sergeant Major. And I'll tell you why, though. I'll tell you why. So I actually went to the Maritime Academy for my undergrad. And so when I was in the Navy, obviously I was a naval officer. So if Navy wins, that's great. But if Army wins, I get to watch the Naval Academy guys mope around for a week. And that's also exciting for me. So it's always a win for Brett Morash.
Yeah. Well, I tell people all the time, I love the Army. I tell you, the Army changed my life. I wasn't a real good kid. I was sort of a disruptive kid.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I knew what direction to go in life. And I went basic. In fact, I'm going to tell you why I joined the Army, which is
a
great story. I was sitting on a beach, and I just graduated from high school, and somebody said, hey, Jack, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. He said, you're going to go to college. And I want you to listen to this. He said, you want to go to college? And I said, guys like me don't go to college. and so the next thing the guy said, he said, well, you want to join the Army? I said, okay, I guess so. And that's my entire thought process. So I joined the Army. Me and a guy named Prentice Boykin, he got killed in Vietnam.
Oh, boy, yeah.
He got his stomach blown out. And he bled to death.
Oh, my gosh.
And so anyway, we joined the Army. It was in the 173rd Airborne. And after I was there about a week and a half or something like that, they had a big battle in the 1st Infantry Division and sent me. It took every other person, so they sent me to the 1st Infantry Division.
Oh, yeah.
And quite frankly, I was overran once there, 20 wounded and 7 killed.
Oh, wow.
But my point was, as I went from 17 to 55, I've never grown so fast as far as life, just being in the military. No matter if it's the Army, Navy, whatever service, it really makes you grow up and look at things a lot different. I do.
Oh, for sure.
When it came out, and I loved every day of it.
No, for sure. And I know I wanted to ask about your service in Vietnam, but I think that's sort of the special part, right? Because I think that's really where Sergeant Major of the Army as like a role is so important, right? Because you're really advocating for the troops at that point, right?
Yeah, I traveled, I want to say in 3.5 years, I traveled 800,000 miles as Sergeant Major Army. And I was always gone, always doing things. And really the focus of the Army is you're the bridge between Congress and the Pentagon and the service members. And so I'd come back, fill out an after-action report, and then I'd brief the chief, and then I'd also go over to Congress and talk to a congressman about it.
Sure.
And then I would testify in front of Congress, but not just to my success, to all the services that were there with me. We were able to get the best increase, about a 24% pay increase, worked on the GI Bill, worked on TRICARE, housing. So it takes a lot to get those things going, but that's a real important position. And I want to say, I thought I did an okay job, but only time will tell, I guess.
No, listen, I think you did amazing work. So, and listen, you're right though, because as a retiree, I know how important the TRICARE is for us, and it's like an amazing piece. So let me ask you another question. So I know you were in Vietnam, and I know we were talking about you were actually a track driver, right? Like in tanks or something.
Yeah, I came in. I was on first I was on an armored personnel carrier, and then they had and then they started shifting people around, and I got put on a tank. And so I was a tank driver, and I think I've ran over everything that you could think of, to include cars, trees, houses, you name it. In fact, they liked me driving so much. You'd have these convoys, and the Vietnamese used to put mines on the side of the road.
Oh, sure.
So you took the middle of the road, and I would actually get so good that I could knock a truck off the road because they wouldn't move. They wouldn't get out of your way.
Yeah.
And you certainly didn't want to hurt anybody, but I got pretty good at it.
That's good.
That's for sure.
That's good. And anyone who did get hurt, the statute of limitations has to be long past by now, Sergeant Major. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's a good one. During the Tet Offensive, I was down in Saigon, and down in Saigon, there's these big narrow streets, and so again, I'm a driver, and so we go down this narrow street, and the sergeant, I'll never forget, his name is Osbos. He says, "Tilly, move out." And I hooked the front of a car. And it was a pretty new car.
Oh no!
And these were Americans that were living in it. And he said, I stopped. He said, "Tilly, I didn't tell you to stop. Move out." I said, "Okay." So I just smashed this car.
Yeah.
And then you seen all these civilians running out, getting in their cars and moving them. But it was sort of funny to me, but it wasn't funny to you. I'm sure.
No, it's a great story though. But I'm sure their version of the story is a little different. Same story, but different perspective. So.
Well, they had a sniper. They had a sniper that was shooting at them, and we was trying to get.
Your next guest is on.
In there and try to take him out there.
For sure, that's amazing. But actually, you had a story about you actually. I think you drove the tank into a VC tunnel. That doesn't make sense. What happened?
What's it?
I heard you drove a tank into like a tunnel complex.
Oh yeah. Well, you always had a what you call a search and destroy missions, where you'd actually go out into the area you're looking for VC and doing all that stuff. And usually they have what they call they had tunnel rats in Vietnam. You didn't know where they were all the time. There's always camouflage. And we was going through a village, and all of a sudden the tank I was in just fell into a hole.
Oh gosh!
And it was an actual tunnel. And I told the sergeant, "But holy shit, where am I?" He says, "Tilly, what? Back your ass out of this." And so I just I just backed up. But it was a pretty good size stone. In fact, the other thing is, I remember I was sitting out in the jungle one time. And was looking around. You don't really wander around, but I kept looking at this thing, and I said, "Damn, what the heck is that?" And so I went over there, and it was a tunnel. And so I dropped down in this tunnel, and I looked, and I thought to myself, really, I looked at myself, and I said, "What are you doing in here, you dummy? Get out!" And so I actually just got back out and said, "There's a tunnel over here. Let's not look around." So.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Well, Sergeant Mitchell, we're actually getting close on time for our next guest, but just before I let you leave, can you just give everyone the where they can go to look up Step Up America again?
Yeah, it should be stepupamerica.org, and just Google that, and that's a wonderful website. It'll tell you all you need to get involved with Step Up America. But remember, it's about educating our kids about a history of our country. We got a great history, and so please don't miss that. Step Up America. Just Google it, and it will be able to help you out. God bless you.
Oh, thanks so much, Sergeant Major. And listen, God bless you too. And I hope the weather down Tampa is nicer than New York is right now.
It is right now. The storm already came through.
All right. Outstanding. All right. Well, thanks again, Sergeant Major. Have a great day.
Have a great day.
Hooah. And that brings us to our next guest, Chief Warrant Officer Mike Evok, the founder of Racing for Heroes. Mike, are you on the line?
Yeah, Brad, I got this. You got me?
Yeah, loud and clear. It's like we're all talking on radios today between you, Sergeant Major, and you.
Right on.
So now you're on your way to Charlotte this weekend, though, right?
I had a small change of plans because I got some other stuff going on.
Okay,
but
right.
Adam and Dr. Camp's picking up my slack and going to Charlotte for me.
Oh, Roger. Yeah, Ricky's going down. Okay, good. Yeah. So, and just so our listeners know, the Sports Car Club of America, the Central Carolina region, is actually having an event in our honor this weekend. So we're pretty excited about that. So a little shout out to the SCCA. And they also gave us a big donation, Mike, right, to modify one of our cars.
Yes, I think it was almost $7,000 to go towards our endurance car racing series. It's a pretty good event. So if anybody's in the Charlotte area, go over by the VMAX Racing at the Concord Speedway, and Ricky Camp and Adam and a few other veterans will be over there, and they're going to have two cars where you can see what your skills are like to run around cones and do a little autocross yourself.
Oh, very cool.
It costs a small donation. I don't remember what Adam's charging. Sorry, I don't remember that, but be a small donation, or go by and pick up a shirt, pick up a coin, or just go by and say hi to the guys.
Yeah, and then in a few weeks, we actually have another event actually at VIR, the charity laps that's coming up. And as I like to tell people, there's a reason there's 120 miles per hour on your speedometer, and this is the opportunity to find out.
Don't know if we'll allow them to get up that fast, the charity lap, but they'll be able to come out and absolutely get to do some tours around the beautiful VIR track. It's a good time. It's basically $25 for about 15, 20 minutes of track time. You get to follow the pace car around, which our pace car has a pretty good pace when it goes.
Yeah.
It's either myself or Adam or one of us in the front. So it's a good time, and it gives you a chance to shake down the track and have a good time right before Christmas.
That's amazing. So, Mike, that kind of brings me to kind of what I want to talk to you about today. Really is when you founded Racing for Heroes, you kind of had a realization, right, that being in the car really was catharsis for the stuff you were going through, right?
Absolutely, Brett. I was in a bad place. I had traumatic brain injury, and I didn't think I had it. I had PTSD, and I didn't think I had it. I just ignored it. Like, that doesn't happen to guys like me. That's just all made up. 800
milligram Motrin, right? That's all you need, right?
Right. A little bit of foot powder, and you just keep marching on.
That's right.
Bottom line is, I thought that it was just normal to only sleep 20 minutes or 3 hours a night. I didn't know any different. Nobody told me any different.
Yeah.
And but when I got in that race car, it filled that void of the adrenaline of being back in the military, of jumping out of planes, fast open out of helicopters, the door charges, the close quarter combat, all those things that gave the adrenaline that we all seek out, most of us in the military.
Yeah.
And when I got out of that race car Saturday night, you were guaranteed I was going to sleep 6 to 8 hours.
No, that's amazing. And I think the other thing that always occurs to me when I think about like the 773 car and all that is that it's like the team effort too. And like the folks that are kind of helping you out with that car to make it go around the track.
Right. And that's where the birth of this whole thing come about is, the long story, the elevator speech was I was a part of a board of another nonprofit. It was, I didn't like the way they were doing conducted business. And so, my good friend Mike Donatelli, who passed away a few years ago, he gave me the speech of like, "Hey, jackass, quit complaining and do it yourself then," And I was like, I can't, run nonprofits. It's a huge undertaking. And Mike, I was underneath the race car. There's about 10 or 15 of us in the race shop. About 3 guys working, the rest just heckling each other. And I'm laying underneath the car, and I was doing something underneath there, and he come up and put a piece of paper on the car and said, "Hey, here's your mission statement. Let's go."
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how we all get started. But and then you look around the shop, you see all the guys there with the car, interested with the car, going to the racetrack, giving them a little bit of task and purpose in life. And then at the end of the day,
that's what it's
big.
about.
Yeah, that's what it's about. And that all leads to helping with suicide prevention. If a guy or a gal doesn't have a task and purpose in life, they tend not to exist, and they go into that dark cubby hole and become secluded. You don't, as Curdy used to tell me, you don't, and we learned this in SEER school, you don't isolate, you insulate.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that people like to do. They try to isolate themselves from everybody else, and that's actually the wrong answer.
No, and I think because that is one of those things, because I don't want to speak for you, Mike, but I know I've had experiences where a buddy of mine reached out, and I happened to pick up the phone, and it was right before he was going to do something that he can't take back, and I think that all of us have a story about catching that guy or gal for that matter that really needs that help when they need it.
Yeah, and that's just trying to take that time. If you're going on a long drive, reach out to your old buddies you haven't talked to in 10 to 15 years. And that's what's unique about the military is all those friends I had back when I was a private.
Mm-hmm.
We picked up right after the Gulf War and continue to talk. We haven't talked to each other in 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
But a couple of my buddies that I was at privates with in the Gulf War, we're talking to each other on a regular basis now again. It's amazing. We just picked up like it never went away.
Yeah, as if it was yesterday and you just left the unit. I mean, I totally can appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
So let me ask another question. So, I know that, when I hear Racing for Heroes, and I know some of our listeners, they think mostly the race cars, but that's really kind of the hook, right? To get them to come to take a look at us, right? And then, because we have all these other programs that are going on.
That's correct, Brett. And, no pun intended, but that's the vehicle to get them here. The draw to bring them in. Because, if you go to the average veteran and say, hey, let's talk about your issues. Let me give you a hand. Let me help you out. You're probably going to meet a concrete wall of resistance of, I don't want to appear weak. I don't want to appear needy.
Right.
I'm an independent person. And that's what you'll get from them. Rather than, hey, man, can you come by the shop and give me a hand? And a lot of the guys I brought into the program, okay, they were in a dark place. And now once I see they got their task of purpose and you see that light come on, then I can start dishing out responsibility for them to take care of others. And then they really get their feet underneath them and like, hey, I'm responsible for helping this guy or this gal. And that's when they start moving out. It's pretty effective. It's force multiplying.
Yeah.
We can go in and, a couple Green Berets to be able to train a whole battalion to do what they want. And that's the philosophy we use. We're kind of an unconventional method of making things happen around here.
No, but I think I don't want to use the word, clever, but it's genius in that it's genuine and it allows people to kind of move at their own pace and, feel that kind of comfort level. Because I think you were telling me the other day, like one of your greatest stories was a veteran that came for the truck wash. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we had a guy come in for the truck wash. It's something we do to raise money. Come in here real quiet, real reserved, didn't talk to many people. Looked a little rough around the edges. Beard was a little out of square. Hair was a little out of square kind of thing. And not military cut, just looked a little raggy, like he would be fine sitting on the street somewhere.
Yeah.
And after a few hours out here with the boys, I mean, they didn't cut him no slack. And I know sometimes no veteran wants to be handled with kit and gloves, given that all is being put him over your shoulder.
Yep.
But when the guy started busting on him and he become part of the group, within 3 hours, he was starting to share his story. The second day he come back, he was clean shaved, hair done up, and he said, come into me and he's like, I just didn't know there was actually organizations that really cared and wasn't going to use me for a pawn to get money or something like that.
Yeah.
So that to me, that's success. That story right there is success. And there's many more that is like that, where just something simple turns into a huge success.
Well, it does, and I was having a conversation with our mutual friend Eric Diddy yesterday, and we were really talking about in Eric's case, as he has profound multiple sclerosis, but he still feels like he's part of the team, even though he's there in a wheelchair. I mean, when we had gunning with Green Berets, he was the guy at the front desk, so, and he's always got a smile on his face, no matter how bad that his day is going.
Yeah, no, Eric's he's special. He does nothing but give. Ever since I met him years ago up in Pennsylvania, and he's just always helping others. That's all he does. That's what his task and purpose in life is just to help others. And if we had more Eric Diddy's in the world, it'd be a better place, that's for sure.
Well, he told me he met you at the VA hospital. I didn't even know that. It was sort of like, inside baseball kind of story, is how you guys first met.
Yeah, we met at the VA in Blockhaven, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I just happened to be in there, and then he was in there, and we just started talking, and, went out, grabbed some lunch together, and just continued to talk, and we hit it off, and he's been full bore with us the whole time.
Yeah.
Making this thing go.
Oh, no, listen, he is a machine, but he's also getting the stem cell therapy and that we've been helping with, and I know that you kind of spearheaded that, but can you tell the listeners a little bit about the stem cell therapy and then kind of what's happened with Eric or yourself for that matter? Yeah.
So we got Eric a couple rounds of stem cell. We got him some 2 cc's. We've done it twice now, so he's a total of 4 cc's. I don't think the Ambu-Site is one of the other ones. I don't know the exact name of it, but he went in for his test and he had no more, I believe, lesions that grew, and he had some that disappeared on different parts
on his neck. Yeah.
So you're seeing when it's starting to reverse it like that. That's amazing. My right shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
I'm up to Dr. Cam just gave me my 4th shot 2 days ago.
Oh, cool.
This shoulder needed completely restructuring, and the doctor looked right at me. He says, not even 50% sure I can fix that thing.
Yeah.
He said, I can't guarantee it's going to be normal. It will never be, I can't fix it all. I'm back on the bench. I'm lifting weights. I can move my arm above my head.
I'm at 20 left.
It's huge. I'm not going to say it's 100%, but from the first MRI where they said, hey, your complete shoulder's destroyed, everything's torn, this and everything else, I went from that was 2 shots. After the second shot, they gave me another MRI, and he's like, hey, man, we're 50% to 60% towards the end stage here.
Unreal.
So I fear that was the 4th shot. I fear one more shot, and it will probably be back to 100%.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Listen.
I wouldn't believe it if I didn't see it. I mean, you look at Curdy,
Mm-hmm.
what Kurt had going on, we'd have been putting Kurt in the ground this year. 2020, we'd have put him in the ground.
I believe that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and it worked with him. I ain't saying he's 100% normal, but he's alive. And I literally seen the MRI of his heart and seen the MRI after his heart, and it healed half his heart, which is just amazing.
That's amazing.
I would
30 seconds.
and if anybody decides that they want to throw a flag up, and say, hey, that's crap.
Yeah.
We got documentation to prove that it's working.
And Mike, I'm so sorry. We're running out. We're out of time actually. So listen, I'll talk to you later today. And listen, thanks for everything you do. And Racing for Heroes wouldn't be here without you. So thanks, Mike.
All right. Thank you, Brett. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too. All right, everyone. Once again, take a look at us, www.racingforheroes.org, and we'll see you next week out here.